Hello, people. Welcome back to another video by your good friend Chad Marco, the Big Anagi. So here we are at the end of the year. It's the end of 2023 and we are going into 2024. And this is a time of the year where a lot of people make New Year's resolutions and things like that. And I've always tried to avoid that. So this is a New Year's resolution talk per se. But I really wanted to reflect on the previous year and the ups and downs and the good and bad about it and the mentality that I'm moving forward with going into the future. And so this might sound strange, but for me, this year I think this was my best year in terms of overall consistency and productivity. And specifically because of the earliest part of the year, I would say from like January to around May. One thing about me, I've always felt like my biggest weakness was a lack of consistency. Ever since I started on this journey of self-improvement, which started in my early 20s, maybe even late teens, that all started with the realization that I have the potential to be so much more, and that there are so many opportunities around me to take advantage of. Regardless of everything that I've been through, I saw a path towards greater heights, and that's what got me into self-improvement and trying to better myself. And when I look back at years past, I've definitely put in a lot of effort in different areas of my life as far as trying to improve and better myself. But I think my biggest weakness was always a lack of consistency. I could work hard for a day or two. I could get this done or that done. But for me to be able to string together multiple days, multiple weeks, multiple months of consistent productivity and at least a respectable level of effort it seemed damn near impossible to me. And it's something I've struggled with ever since I got into self-improvement. I could go hard for a day. I could wake up and go walk miles while listening to audiobooks and fill out a job application and make some music and do this, right? And if I could do that same thing throughout the whole week or the month, then I would get a lot more done. But it was always it was always difficult for me. And it's like my mom used to always say this. She's always called me a half-asser. And it's definitely true. If I had any weakness or character flaw, is that I've always been a half-asser and a procrastinator. And that's been what I've been fighting against ever since I started getting into self-improvement. I would say my whole life, but I didn't care until right. I didn't care until I had become an adult and began to realize that I could do better. But if there was anything I struggled with, that was it. And earlier this year, at around January, February, it was like late January, February, March, April, and like early May, I was more consistent than I ever been in my life. For me to be able to say, like, you guys just don't understand. For me to be able to say, I spent a whole month being consistent, sticking to a schedule, sticking to a game plan. Not, looking back, I could have went harder. I could have done more, but it was the consistency that really impressed me, and what I really felt good about. For me to be able to say, I spent an entire month sticking to the game plan and didn't fall too far off track. That was crazy to me. And not one, but two and three. There were at least like 3 straight months where I was just on point, focused, and I was sticking to a strict schedule. I had a sleep schedule of a set time to go to sleep and wake up. I would wake up and get right to work, be productive on different things, whether it was working on music, working out, looking for a job. Like, I was on it. And then after that, I would rest, chill a little bit, and then later on that night, get back to it. And I was doing that consistently. For like 3 months. And for me, that was the best period of the year. And that by itself makes this year stand out as the best for me. because it let me know that what always seemed to elude me, which was consistency. I know I can work hard. I know I can do great things, and I'm creative and I got the right attitude, but it was the consistency that I always lacked. And for once in my life, I got a taste of that. And you guys know that I take a lot of inspiration from anime, but it's not the superpowers. It's not the supernatural things that they're able to do, throwing out energy blast and flying and going hyper speed, super sick. That's not it. What I always admire the most about anime protagonists, and let's go a little bit closer down to earth, like guys like Joe from Ashita no Joe or Ippo from Hajime no Ippo. What I admire most about them is that they put 100% of themselves into their goal, and they're consistently working towards it. You can never, win or lose, you can never look at a good anime protagonist and say that they didn't give it 100%. They give their all when it comes to preparation and training, and most importantly, they're consistent. And that was the trait that I wanted to emulate and make a part of myself more than anything else, but I could just never achieve that. And this year, there was a moment during the earlier part of the year when I was on my roll. I was running to the library and I laid down in the grass at the library, and I was kind of tired, and I thought back to this scene from Hajime no Ippo where Takamura, he's training for a big fight against Brian Hawk, and he's going through hell because he can't eat, he can't drink water because he got to make weight. And while doing that, he has to train hard against this monster, right? Brian Hawk. And there's a moment where he's out running with the coach, and the coach is looking at him concerned, and they're having this conversation because Brian Hawk, he was so good, he didn't have to train. But Takamura, he had to actually get it the hard way. And so Takamura was basically giving the coach a reassurance, and he gave him this reassuring smile and thumbs up. And so despite everything he was going through, like just going through hellish training, right, he still had a positive attitude. But I always think back to that moment because of how hard he was going, like day in and day out, facing the hell of weight management and hard training and preparing for the biggest fight of your life, and the pressure that came with that. I've never done anything in my life close to that. And even when I was at my best earlier this year, I wasn't going nearly that hard. So don't get me wrong, but it was like for the first time in my life, I felt like I was really trying my best. And I never felt that before. I would do good for a day, maybe 2, if I was lucky, 3. But to be in the midst of this months-long, consistent productivity cycle, like I just laid there and I soaked it up because I was like, this is what I've always needed. This is what I've always been looking for. The unfortunate thing about it though was that I wasn't able to hang on to it throughout the year. I think going into the summer, that's when I started to kind of fall off track a little bit. And it was strange because going into the summer, I was very optimistic. Now, by the end of spring, I was starting to falter a little bit. But I was like, you know what? Summertime, that's my season. I'm a Cancer, right? I get activated. So I thought that it would be easier to get myself back on track because I was kind of falling off a little bit. And I think falling off kind of came down to, you know how you kind of get comfortable, right? So at first it was I'll wake up at 12 and then be productive for like the first 6 hours of the day and then rest. And then that turned into I'll be productive for the first 4 hours. And right, I started eating earlier and things like that. And just slowly but surely, I started to, slip a little bit. But going into the summer, I was like, you know what? It's my season. I'm ready to go. And I was very optimistic, but I really failed to live up to that same level of consistent productivity. I think what I did do right during the summer was I got myself into the best shape of my life. But that's almost a given because I just love going out running during the summer so much. So I was running to the gym, working out for an hour or an hour and a half, and then either running back home or walking while listening to podcasts, audiobooks. So I was active as fuck. And I got myself into the best shape of my life this summer. That was the one thing I did right. But the thing is, it's not enough just to do one thing right. You got to have it all. You know, I got to keep myself in good physical shape, but then I also should have been more focused on finding another job. I also should have been more focused on my music and things like that. And I think the only thing I really did consistently well throughout the summer really was just keep myself in tip-top shape. And then I had the foot injury towards the end of the summer, and then that even threw off my fitness goals because I couldn't run. I could barely walk. So I had to wait till that healed up. And then I was going into the fall. And again, it was kind of a similar thing where it was like, okay, well, I'm going into a new season. Let me just kind of readjust my plans a little bit and just try to get back on track. And I was working myself up towards trying to get back on track the way that I was. And it was just kind of that same hit and miss thing that was going on during the summer. And the worst part was during November when the seasonal depression hit. Now that only lasted for about 2 or 3 weeks, but it fucked me up because, you know, I'm someone that really needs momentum before I can get going, you know, because when I bottom out and I need to rebuild myself, I start small and I start building on that. And so I was in the middle of this rebuilding process of trying to get back on track, and then I get smacked down right by depression. And even though overall I think I handled it well, if I handled it better, I could have got out of it sooner. And pretty much ever since then, it's been me just trying to get myself back on track from the seasonal depression bout, which really threw me off. I was already like on shaky ground, but then that really threw me off. And I'm glad to say though that as I stand now at the end of December, I feel the closest to being back to my consistent, productive self that I was earlier in the year as I ever was throughout the year. Like for the first time, it's like, okay, I'm getting there, but knock on wood, but I have to maintain it. But I'm just glad to say that right now, as of this recording, I'm right there. I'm right there. I'm feeling the focus. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling disciplined. Like and I can honestly say like, and again, this is a New Year's resolution thing because it's a lifelong journey, but we're looking towards and forward to a new year. And I can honestly say that I'm looking forward to the fight. I'm looking forward to the struggle. I'm looking forward to the challenges that await me in 2024. I feel like in some way, all of my struggles throughout this year have culminated to better preparing me for the future. Because even when you look at the earlier part of this year where I was on point, I didn't get there out of nowhere. That was the result of all the trial and error and trying and failing and ups and downs. And again, I hate to say my goal next year, but if I had, I'll say it like this: moving forward, the main thing I want to achieve is knowing that I put my all into all the goals that I set for myself. You know, because I think my biggest regret of not just this year, but of previous years is that I never really tried as hard as I should have. Because I say all this, you know, I talk about this stuff and the lack of consistency and shit like that, but I'm not saying that to excuse anything. Because at the end of the day, it all falls on my head. And it falls on my bad habits and my failures and my lack of character in that regard. And I made no excuses for that. If I ever felt shame and regret about anything, look, I can live with the outcome, whatever it is, as long as I know that I gave it 100%. And that's what made the earlier part of this year so special, was that I was really going hard and I was really giving it my best shot. And I was like, this is how I always should have been. And moving forward, if there isn't anything else that I put my mind towards, it's gonna be making sure that I give it 100%, making sure that I'm fully committed to trying to achieve my goals. Not just halfway trying, kind of trying and shit like that, but really pushing, like really just pushing that line. You know, I remember like the other day, I was doing job applications, and I was calling different places. And you know how, you know, you call about a job and they don't seem interested in shit like that. And I felt myself kind of getting discouraged. But then, right, I snapped myself back into it. Was like, push again, do it again, right? And so, like, just making sure that whatever I'm trying to do, whatever I'm trying to accomplish, make sure that I'm giving it 100%. Don't just kind of, sort of, maybe try. Really put 100% into it. And then whatever happens, happens. But if nothing else, I want to make sure that in 2024 and beyond, I can honestly say that I gave it my all. I gave it 100%. The same way I did earlier this year. Because for me, that was just the best part of the year. It was a beautiful time in my life, and it was important because I needed to know that I could do it. I needed to know that I had that within me, not just that I can sporadically do awesome shit and have a great attitude, but that I can be consistent. That's a whole different thing. And that's really such an important ingredient when it comes to success. Because I would argue that a consistent, moderate worker will be a better success than an inconsistent hard worker. And I think that's basically what I was. I was an inconsistent hard worker. I would go hard sometimes and I would fall off, right? Like, you're not gonna get where you need to go going hard 2 or 3 days out of the week. You need at least about 5, 6. Oh man, but again, man, we're moving into 2024, and like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I feel great. I feel stronger than ever. I feel better than ever. And I'm ready to go. And I'm not. This ain't a New Year's resolution video because I'm already on it. I've been, man, all December I've been just, you know, focused and trying to get shit done and making moves and stuff like that. And one thing I will say though, that I think was the highlight for me, creative wise, in terms of like being a content creator, the new Nightwalk vlog. like the new revamped Nightwalk vlog has allowed me to be able to consistently put out content the way that I wasn't able before, right? Because even when I'm not really focused on music or anime reviews, or whatever the case may be, or the podcast, the Nightwalk vlog is just a 15-20 minute video. And so I can put out at least 2 or 3 of them a week. And that really, for me, was one of the best adjustments I made as a content creator, because that allowed me to be more consistent in that regard. So hopefully going into the future, I'm not going to say it, you know, I can maintain and improve upon that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Make sure you share your hopes, dreams, and goals for the future in the comment section, and I will see you guys later. Johnny.